Hello, everyone. Thank you for another episode of Within the Cauldron. Thank you for joining us. And we are very excited tonight. This woman, um, her books are great reference. And her new stuff that she has too. Everything she does is like golden,
Magic? Magic?
magical. Yes. So if you don't recognize the face, this is Miss Judika Illes.
You're gonna make me
Hi,
cry.
Judika. I'll make you
Hi.
blush. I have your books underneath here. I can prove that I'm an active reader of yours.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you. I love your opening.
Well, thank you. We just got that not too long ago. So I thought, oh, just in time for Judika. Hey.
I love it.
um, you have done so much. And I know, um, Mike, we raised our kids pagans and everything. And I know when we got your books, I think my kids was like teenagers, telling my age here. Okay. And I know my daughters really like that Encyclopedia of Spirits. I mean, they even showed it up to their friends. Here, look at this. They was reading out of it. It was so cute because it's like, wow,
But
they're becoming little teachers, and everything. But I want to get started with you have something new that's coming out in June of 2025. And I can't wait for it because I might just pre-order it because I
We're
think
gonna have
it
to
is
get a couple
pre-order.
of them.
Yeah, we probably do. We don't share very good. But you have it's 36 cards, protection spell cards for self-defense.
magical self-defense. Yeah.
I'm really excited for you to tell me about that.
Oh, it's my first deck of cards. So I'm really excited about it too. I had a right before I did published 5,000 spells, I had been contracted to do a deck of cards, a different deck, and it didn't work out for reasons that had nothing to do with me, the publisher. It was just canceled, and I was always sorry. So I'm so excited about these. Oh, I wish I had brought. I have a sample. I should have brought it with me. They are protection spell cards. They're very reasonably priced, which I love. They're like $12.95.
Yeah, they are.
36 cards. They're small. They're like will fit in your hand. You can tuck them into your purse or your backpack, and it's real basics of protection magic. So you could use it as an oracle. You could just use it as a little reference to keep with you. You can do whatever, you could use it in spell work, but all different kinds because everybody needs protection.
Oh yeah.
It needs
Oh, yeah.
protection all the time.
Yeah.
It's very basic. You don't have to be a magical, extraordinary person. A beginner could use these. And it's a good way actually to learn about protection magic for someone who is just starting also. And for people who are more experienced, I always try to get something in there that's new, hopefully so it's not all the same old, but it's the thought with it was that it would be a reference. It would be something you can carry with you, you can take with you. It's a very almost no frills. The cards are very pretty, and they have snakes, which I love. I love the image of snakes. Snakes for protection, and so there's snakes. There are snakes on the back of every card, and they're very pretty cards. But there's not a lot of there's not a book with it. It's a very simple thing that I liked it. Sometimes simplicity is a good thing.
Yeah. Do you have any snakes? I just
No,
have to ask you that.
Mm.
We used
no,
we used to have a boa. We used
yeah.
long time ago.
I
So,
love them. I'm not. I don't think I'm wearing. No, I'm not wearing any snake jewelry today. But usually, I do wear snake jewelry. They're very special to me.
yeah,
No, I've had cats. I've had dogs. I've had birds. I have never had a snake,
yeah.
but maybe one day I will.
They're pretty good pets. So that especially when you get them when they're babies. They're
Yeah,
I you know I Definitely, definitely. We're going to go on there. We got to pre-order probably 2 decks because he won't share.
I don't share good.
He doesn't.
I take every object as sacred. It's one
Yes.
of those things.
Yeah, I
I don't
understand.
like mix my energies with my
Mhm.
wife as far as my magical
Yeah.
tools. It's like, no, back up, no, you
Yeah,
can't.
no, I do understand that.
Yeah, we do that. It's like, what are you touching that act? Even my grandkids, they would like to go into my magical closet. We do have like a 12 by
Yeah,
probably 12 by 5 magical closet that we keep all our magical supplies in. Not clothes, just magical supplies
Yep.
and
right.
everything. And they like to go in and just kind of snoop. And it's like, what are you doing in here? And like,
Those boundaries are good. It
"Oh,
just contains
there."
your power.
Well, my granddaughters were going to be like high priestess. I want to follow in your footsteps, Grandma, or the boys are following their grandpa around. So, which is good. But anyway, we get to the next question here.
How long have you been following your path?
People ask me that, but I mean, pretty much, well, there are two answers to that. I would say pretty much always. Like, people always ask me, like, when did you become interested in witchcraft? But I don't remember a time I wasn't interested in witchcraft. I came this way. And, even as a small, very small child, like the Wizard of Oz movie, the musical, would be on television once a year because I'm that old. And I never liked it. Children were supposed to be excited about it, but that's a movie about killing witches. And even when I was 4 or 5 years old, I understood that, and I, I felt, I felt personally offended. I was defamed by that movie, so it's something I have complicated feelings. But that was very private for me. I've been reading cards forever, reading about witchcraft and various magical arts, numerology and astrology and whatever I could. I'm a compulsive reader, so whatever I could get my hands on. And I had a family that was interested, so I had access to this material. But it was very private, for other than people would see me reading things. But until really I published my first book, which was Earth Mother Magic. And I I had the opportunity to publish it, and I really wanted to be published, but I didn't actually believe anybody would read it. So I used my real name. A lot of metaphysical authors will use pseudonyms or, nom de plume, but I figured no one is going to read this book anyway, so, what the hell? Um, and people did. And then, and the more you write, I inadvertently came out of the broom closet, but I'm glad I did. It is a better way to live. It is a better way to live, to be free and independent and not have to worry about what people think of you. I
Mhm.
I just did it without thinking. And so that book was published in 2001. So more than 20 years.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's really
Yeah,
fascinating.
I don't
That's
think.
great, though.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever been in the broom closet. We
No,
just,
no,
we just kind of came out and says, "Love us or leave us."
we
Yeah.
lost
About
friends, but
we did lose a lot of friends and a lot of family, but there wasn't true friends and true family. That's
Right.
where I got it.
Right. It's
Yeah.
better to find out. Right.
Yes,
but the
it
great thing
is.
is I have made thousands of great friends for that.
Right.
Maybe the 5 or 6
Right.
that I did lost,
It liberated you. Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. I had gotten divorced, and it was a bad divorce, shortly before that book was published. So I was really in a transitional state. I had moved across the country. I had left a lot of people behind for other reasons. And, it was a sad time in my life, so I was very happy to be published. I wasn't thinking beyond, I want to do this. I wasn't thinking what kind of an impact it would have on my life. So it it was a blessing. It was a blessing. I'm glad I didn't think about it. I'm glad I didn't, think about whether I should have been public, should I have used another name. it just happened, and it is a free and a better way to live.
Yeah.
Yes.
Imagine all the people's lives
Yeah.
though, that you've touched, that you
Yeah.
changed.
I didn't think anybody would read those books, I have to tell you.
Well, I think a lot of
I mean,
people
I'm grateful.
yes,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people has you know, I love them. I do. I
Thank
love
you.
anything that
It
they
means
use.
I mean, I really didn't believe anybody would read that book. So that means a lot to me. When people tell me that even this many years later, it really means a lot to me. There
Yeah.
is, I mean, it's a funny story. My last name, there's an accent over the E, but my editor had very little faith in the American public. And she said, oh, Americans are scared of accents, take it off. And I'm like, I always sign it with it. And I thought, well, no one is going to read the book anyway. This is not the hill I'm going to die on. I mean, I had other things to argue with her about. So I said,
Yeah.
okay, whatever. But it's really funny because, of course, that book has now had, that book was put out of print by the original publisher, republished by Weiser Books later, and it's now a Weiser classic under the name Pure Magic. And I think back to when it was published, I thought I'd be lucky if 20 people bought the book.
Well, it's like I know that let me see, if correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're doing another edition of one of the big encyclopedias, right? Or am I wrong?
You're neither right nor wrong. This is accidentally this year. This was not planned. In the last 12 in this 12-month period from September 24 to September 25, I have 3 publications. And so that's why I'm very happy to talk about so the book, which is a compendium. Let's see, do I have one here?
Now that's a
Yeah,
new
this
one.
book.
Yeah.
This was published in September, so this here we are. That was publication number 1, and then the magics the protection spell cards are coming out in June, and that's like the middle child. So I want to be sure that it doesn't get lost. And I
Yeah.
am working on, it's not a new edition, but 5,000 spells. They're creating some oracle cards out of them, or I am doing it together.
Yeah, I think
I
that's
love that
what
book.
yeah, that's what I heard, I think was I know it's one of the
I
encyclopedias.
haven't even announced it. I think I'm announcing it here first.
Oh, well,
No, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, it's out there. It's up on Amazon. If anybody wants to pre-order it, it's up there. It will be published in September. I'm literally working on that now. When we're finished, I'm going to go back and write some more. That is, I think also 36 cards. This is a bit more of a lavish package. There's spell cards also, but these are an oracle. There's a guidebook with this one, which is what I'm working on. And it is based on elemental magic. There's air and earth and water and fire. So
Yeah.
wow.
it's exciting. There's some new texts. Some of the material is from 5,000 spells. Some of it I'm writing now. So
Well, you know where we're going after this.
Hey, bro,
Yeah.
once again,
you got the scoop, though. You got the scoop. I'm announcing it here first.
What kind of do you have any kind of magical experience that was like your favorite?
I gotta tell you, a lot of my magical experiences, personally, come from crises. There's a problem, and I magicked my way out of it. My favorite experiences are the happy ones, and they're very simple. My favorite ones, you go, you try to live a magical life. It's not, and of course, everybody has their life and their circumstances. So this is not a criticism, because I mean, I've had times when I've compartmentalized my life, but I try not to have my 1 hour a week of magic. I try to live a magical life, and everything you do is through that magical lens. But just to, to go to the beach, to be outside, to go outside look at the moon. Is it full? Is it new?
Mhm.
The eclipses, the lunar eclipses, those are my favorites. That
Yeah.
daily, especially that lunar magic. I do a lot of cleansing baths with different kinds of herbs and salt, and you can make moon water and things like that. Those are my favorites. I can tell you that, I mean, the dramatic things. I had a house that I'm always the precursor. I had a house that went into foreclosure years ago, and it was just too much for me. And I walked around my house and I looked for things, and I just created a spell because I mean, I didn't have any money to go out and buy stuff because that's why the house is going into foreclosure. So, I mean, with the things that I found in my house, and you want to develop those magical eyes so you can look at things and say, oh, this is, those protection spell cards to teach you how to see the things that bring protection, the things that will bring you money, the things that will bring you safety. And, with the grace of that, and, the grace of the Orisha Oshun between the two of them, I mean, the house was not foreclosed on. We got out. There's a buyer, and we did get out. But so I mean, I have a lot of dramatic stories like that, often with a spiritual intervention involved. But those are often very painful situations.
Mhm. Oh yeah, we've been there. One thing about the craft is you don't have to go out and spend a lot of money on it. You have
Right,
so many things around you
right.
that you can use.
I mean,
Um,
you can. I mean,
yeah.
if you like to, if you want to buy, I mean, people, if you want to buy expensive herbs and crystals, it's
Mhm.
there for you. You can do it. But historically, the magical arts have been the province of the poor and the oppressed. And,
Yeah.
because there are different kinds of power in the world, and financial power is a power, and
Oh
it's an
yeah.
easier power than magic power. If you have enough money, if you have that kind of physical strength,
Mhm.
you can, you might not need a magic spell. Magic
Right.
spells are for the people who don't have that stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Ah, who inspired you to follow your path? Can
Who
you
inspired me? A
your
lot of people. It's not one person. I mean, it was something that resonated with me and attracted, as I was saying before, since I was a child. So it was something I wanted, that witch life. I wanted that
Mhm.
magical life. That was innate in me. But I remember probably two of them. When I was a little girl, my mother had a subscription to McCall's magazine, and they had an occult issue, The Boom in the Occult, and Helena Blavatsky was on the cover. And I read it, and Helena Blavatsky was like the first person on a magazine cover who looked like she could have been a relative of mine. And it I mean, I still remember it. It made a big impression on me. And then in my youth, if you remember Sybil Leek,
Oh
yeah.
yes.
Sybil
Mhm.
Leek was really, for people who don't know Sybil Leek, she was an author, but she was really the first public witch. And she was on Merv Griffin and Mike Douglas, and she had a best-selling autobiography, I Am a Witch. And she also made a big impression on me. That you could live this way. You could live this way, and she carried herself with a lot of dignity and a lot of pride, and she didn't apologize for being a witch. She didn't let people, you know, "Oh, you're superstitious. Oh, you believe that stuff." She was very grounded in her witchness, and that made a big impression on me because, for example, in my family, I don't come from a family that thinks I'm a devil worshiper or that, I mean, I know people write to me, I showed some psychic ability and then they beat me. I don't come from that kind of a family. No one tried to make me feel bad, but there was some eye rolling, you know. Oh, you could go get a PhD and be a scientist, or you can do that, So
Mm.
it is that kind of a little bit condescending, a little bit patronizing, and you do get that in the world. I mean, I was made fun of as a child. I
No.
learned to be, well, because I learned to be, well, for a lot of reasons, but I learned to be private because, I was openly interested in magic and witchcraft, and I learned maybe to be a bit more private with it.
Hmm.
And Sybil Leek and also Helena Blavatsky, they were proud of themselves. They were accomplished women, accomplished people.
Oh yeah.
So, and they weren't neither one of them, by the time I knew them, they weren't young. I mean, Helena wasn't with us anymore, but Sybil Leek, she was a mature woman, and she held her own, and she was very charming and witty, and when she was there talking with Mike Douglas, he treated her with respect. So that made a big impression on me.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
really cool.
She was
Yeah.
one of the first books I even read. Diary of a Witch.
Yeah,
Diary of a Witch. I am a witch. Yeah.
yeah.
I love that book. I always
I love
recommend
the
that
book too.
book
Yeah.
to everybody.
All her books, she was a very prolific author, and she was in astrology. She wrote a lot of books about different topics, witchcraft topics, but they're all out of print. So I recommend for people, go on eBay, because sometimes you can find these out of print copies of her books for not that much money. So
Oh yeah.
look.
Her book of Diary of a Witch, it's, oh my gosh. She encountered so much, but she has some great memories and everything. And she had Aleister Crowley to being her
Right.
godfather.
She
And
came from like a witchcraft family. She came from a metaphysical family.
oh yeah, it's
She
just
left
very
one heck of a
interesting.
legacy for
Yeah,
all of us to really look,
Yeah.
and
she
how she
did.
presented herself,
Hmm.
is very fascinating to me.
For
Very.
people who aren't, you should be familiar with these people, but if you're not familiar with these people, there are, I can't hold it in the right place. There are entries, descriptions of Blavatsky and Sybil Leek and other people, because they are our foremothers and forefathers, and they blazed a trail for us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
they're important
We
people.
they brought
we
a lot of truth to the path.
yeah.
Actual
Yeah,
magical workings,
yeah,
Mhm.
real,
actual work.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, and they were interesting and fun,
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
and
I
that's
have
something
a
too.
I have a good friend of mine, Wendy, that we are working on a podcast probably next month about talking about the legends, the pioneers, the
Right,
people who set the path for us,
right.
the road to it, because, most of them are passed away.
They were
And
very brave.
yes, and we don't want them to be forgotten.
No, right.
The new ones today is like, who is that? Who you
Sh-
talking about?
shine the light upon those who have set the path,
Yes.
continuously to be the torchbearer. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yes, most
Yeah.
definitely. Um, oh, let me see. Okay, so your encyclopedia books, the great reference books, like I was saying before, and you have 4 of them out. How long did it take you to? Because those are big books. Is this something you did just kind of jot down each time?
Yeah, well, Encyclopedia of 5,000 Spells started off like that. I was working on something else. I did a lot, for years, and couple years. And while I was researching, I would come across all this interesting magical stuff. But when I started working, I had like blinders on. If it wasn't on my topic, I didn't really pay attention. But after a while, I started to feel bad. Boy, that
Mhm.
was interesting. And you find this material, or people tell you things, you find it in a book or you find it on the internet. I mean, we're going back to, now we're talking maybe the late 90s. And if you don't record it, often you'll never find it again. It's
Right.
gone, just vanished into the ether. So I had note cards, and I, unfortunately probably cut down a rainforest, but I just started recording things that I thought were interesting, even if I didn't need them. This is interesting and I'm going to record it. And I had shoeboxes and boxes full of magical stuff. So 5,000 Spells was my third book. I did 2 books for Fair Winds Press.
Mhm.
And so Earth Mother Magic, which is now Pure Magic. I did a book called Emergency Magic, which is now Magic When You Need It. And that book had 150 spells. And my editor knew I had these collections of spells. And I really wanted to do something else. But he hooked me. He talked me into this. Can we do a book with 500 spells? Sure. Can we do a book with 1,000 spells? Sure. 5,000. I think at one point we're up to 10,000. And I'm like, yeah, because spells are like the stars in the sky, the sand on the beach. You can create, there are spells born every minute. Every time there's something new in the world, we develop spells for it. Emojis on your phone. You can cast a spell with emojis. But I mean, 50 years ago you couldn't because there were no emojis. So
Right.
whatever shows up, what is your most magical tool? Well, probably, I think for a lot of people, your freezer, because there's a lot of stuff in people's freezers.
We won't discuss that.
We won't discuss that.
You have thrown a few people there. Whole dungeon.
So he asked me, and then and at the end he hooked me. And one of the reasons he hooked me is every book, if it's got a finite space. Not if you're only doing a digital book, but like if you're doing like a paper book. I mean, I'm so bad with this stuff. This is how much room you've got. Like you can't fit more in it. So if you're going to do a spell, a lot of spells have different versions, and you have to choose one.
Yeah.
And when he said 5,000 spells, I thought, oh, that's great. I don't have to pick one. I can show you the different versions, because I find that interesting to see the different versions of different spells, how they've evolved, how they suit people. Because you don't need a book of spells. You could create your own if you want to. So I was saying the foreclosure spell. I walked around and looked for stuff, and I had to do it now, and I did it. And if you develop a little experience, anybody can do that.
Yeah.
So I had a contract to write a 450-page book because Greg, my editor, said 450 pages is a big book. You think that's good? And I said, sure. Because neither of us are mathematicians, and we didn't calculate how many spells can you get on a page. And, once I had written 100 pages and I was still in the introduction, I knew we were in trouble. The actual writing of that book was about 9 months, but 24/7. But I already had the spells. I had most of the spells already. So, but the writing. And then I thought no one was going to buy it again. And when they asked me to do Encyclopedia of Witchcraft, I thought, oh, well, I better sign a contract fast before they realized no one's going to buy the first book, because I was very inexperienced. No one explains this. I'm an editor and I explain things to my authors because nobody explained anything to me. I didn't realize they already had pre-orders. I didn't realize that they were asking me to write another book because they had, they thought the first one was going to sell. I didn't know any of that. So I wrote those 2. And Encyclopedia of Spirits I wanted to do. That was because that's my favorite. I love that spiritual interaction. But that book was originally, it had saints and angels in it. The book got too long. And so the angels were cut, the mermaids, a lot of the mermaids were cut. I have like a lot of the Black Madonnas. I have like outtakes for like half a dozen other books. But I wanted to have the saints together with the spirits.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's interesting if you look at the goddess Bridget next to Saint Bridget and side by side.
Yeah.
I find that interesting. Saint Patrick next to Damballa. If you don't have to have two books, but the book got too big and we couldn't do that. And at the end, we did another saint book by itself. And it's not I mean, what's a nice witch doing writing a saint book? But it's not a conventional. There are even pagan saints. So it's not. A lot of people tell me that's their favorite book, so that makes me happy.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
No.
The Italians did it.
Right.
Seriously, they did.
Right. Yeah.
Were there any books that were really difficult for you to write?
Oh, 5,000 Spells. Because I mean, nobody told me I couldn't do it, so I didn't know I couldn't do it, so I did it. But after it was published, I was teaching. It's over 1,000 pages. I was and it wasn't written linearly. It was written like sewing together a quilt made of postage stamp size patches. And I had a wonderful editor who made it look seamless. But that was supposed to be a 450-page book. It was more than double. It is. It was supposed to be done in like May. God bless you. It was supposed to be done in May, and I'm a very punctual person. It was the first time in my life I'd really been really late for anything. I wasn't finished until like October, and I, spent the last couple months sort of weeping because but I wanted it to be fun. So I was trying to, be fun through the tears because in theory, the publisher could have canceled it. I was already kind of in breach of contract. I was late. I was over the word count. I just thought they're going to cancel this. They're going to want the money back. I didn't have a big advance, but I didn't have it anymore. I'm a single mother. I didn't have that money. And I had quit my job to work on that book. I was really working 24/7. I had been selling cosmetics because I'm an aromatherapist, which is great in California, but in New Jersey, aromatherapy is air freshener, and the only thing it was good for was to help me sell skincare and cosmetics because I understand what's on the label. And so I thought, I'm going to have to go back and work in a mall again. It's going to be awful. I'm never going to so that was a very harrowing experience. That was, and ironically, that book has really supported me all these years. That book was a life-changing book for me, but it was not a happy experience writing it.
Oh, wow. I know we trying to write a book about we're trying to do something about being in a coven, having a coven form, being organizers of the pagan community,
the public life,
the
truth,
the truth,
the good and the bad of the Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
It's where we want future leaders to go, well, this didn't work for them, but this did.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what you have to look out for.
We pass down that experiential wisdom.
Yeah. I think the only issues I have with it is when I start going to some details of like a ritual that we have done, like a baby blessing or something, I get so emotional that I just cry my way through it. So, but anyway, out of all the spells that you have done, and you've probably done a lot, what would you say is your favorite type of spell to do, and of course the least favorite to do?
Oh, my favorite types of spells to do. I'm a water sign, I've got a very watery chart. I like those spells, those cleansing spells. Any spell that you can do in the water in your bathtub. Those are probably my favorite. I like lunar spells. I like, I like, I like that, going out to dance under the moonlight and speaking directly to the moon. And those are
Yeah.
my favorites. Those are the ones that make my heart sing. My least favorite, I don't really have least favorites because I don't do well. Okay. So when I was younger, I had a lot of fears, most of which I have worked through, and I was very afraid of fire. And to the point, I mean, we had a stove where you had to light the pilot. I mean, the machinations I went through. I mean, I had to have like the long fireplace matches. I mean, it was just it was crippling. I mean, if that pilot went out, I was in trouble. And so I would have told you, now we are talking up until the 90s, up until I was in my 30s. It it was, but a lot of spells are candle magic spells, and they were very hard for me to do. And they weren't successful for me because, spells are not supposed to be stressful.
Right.
I would do these spells, and they were for a purpose. But the real purpose, the thing that was in my head is, oh my goddess, don't let me burn the house down. Oh my goddess, don't let me like burn this. Don't let me injure myself. Don't let me, y- you know, and and so the spell worked because I never burned the house down. I mean, I never injured myself. But the reason I was casting the spell, and I'm thinking about, especially if you have 5,000 spells, and it's in my book Encyclopedia of Mystics, Saints, and Sages. Also, there is the San Alejo spell, Alejo, which is a gentle banishing spell, and it, I needed it. I needed there are people in the house who needed to go. But it's gentle and that you don't want anything bad to happen to them. You just want them to leave. This is like your relative who's sleeping on the sofa and like really disrupting your household, but uh,
Mhm.
you love them. So,
Yep.
you just want all of a sudden for them to get a phone call. They've got someplace better to go, and they leave on their own, and we're all happy. And it never worked because all I could think about was, not burning my hair up, or my at one point I had my arm in a cast, and I mean, that
Mhm.
was a scary thing. And then and at that time, I would have told you those are my least favorite spells because maybe I didn't know of an alternative, and I felt I had to do that one.
Mhm.
But I eventually got over that fear. I mean, I teach candle magic classes now. And if you come to see me teach a class, you'll watch me pinch out those candles with my fingers. And I mean, that is a whole, they're not my least favorite anymore.
Yeah.
Now I like them.
I remember one time I caught my robe sleeve on fire one time, and the whole coven was there just patting me down, trying to get the fire out. So, yeah,
The
that,
Yeah.
cat put his tail through a candle. That was,
that happened too. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, he was fine. I mean, nothing happened, but there was that aroma of singed fur
I
for a while. It
yeah,
was,
I remember one time
yeah.
I was supposed to draw down the lady, and she came into me with such force that I fell onto the altar,
oh,
and my hair went right into the candle. You know what? My hair didn't catch on fire. I didn't get
yeah,
singed. Nothing.
oh, that's
That
protection.
magic.
Yeah, yeah, there's
That
magic all around
That
us.
is magic.
yeah.
Yes.
Well,
So
those are the nightmares.
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yes.
what would you tell somebody about magic? The beginner to the advanced and spell work, because if you do have a good grip on it. What
I
would
would tell people, especially people who come from fear. There's a lot of negative propaganda about magic and
Mhm.
spell work and various magical arts. I always tell them there is an Egyptian creation myth, which describes, the creator has created the universe, the creation, and the creator looks out upon creation and realizes that all will not be well, and that human beings are fated for trouble. And so the absolute last creation is magical energy, because it's supposed to ward off the harsh blows of fate. Magic is there to make our lives better. It is there. It is a source of joy. It is a source of empowerment. If it is not, it's what I was saying about the candle magic. It's not meant to stress you out. It is not meant to make your life worse. It is not, we 5,000. I have a book, 5,000, and there's more than 5,000 spells in there. There, and I could do another 5,000, because spells are constantly created.
Mm-hmm.
So no one person, people, have you done all 5,000 spells? No, there are smallpox spells in there. Why are you asking me that? Nobody needs 5,000 spells, but maybe we all need the dozen spells that work for us. The baker's dozen, 13, that works the best for you, and that you can rely on, and that you can trust, and you feel stronger and better because of those spells.
Oh, yeah.
And the spell that works for me might not be the spell that works for you or somebody on the other side of the world. I think part of the beauty of magic spells is that you get to dig inside yourself and see where your powers are.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I love the moon and I love the sun, but maybe somebody else loves the star Sirius, or maybe you love the mountains, or maybe you love an herb, or whatever it is. So find it. Find your magic power. Find your spells. And if something scares you or it makes you uncomfortable, sometimes, depending on your circumstances, I wanted to do that San Alejo spell because it's such a specific spell. But so I put myself through something that didn't end up working because it wasn't the right spell for me at that time anyway. So find what works for you and brings you joy and comfort and healing. And don't let people tell you, oh, it's evil, or people who watch the television series Charmed. That wasn't. It's fun. I watched it. It's fun, but it wasn't created by magical people. It was created by TV people. And the whole thing in Charmed is you can't do magic for personal gain. It's all for personal gain. It is all for personal gain. If you had $20 billion in the bank and, like, I don't know, your daddy is like a gangster, everybody's scared of, well, maybe you don't need a magic spell. But for the rest of us, like, it's supposed to make your life better because you don't have those advantages.
One thing that I did learn from your writings was how to create my own spells to suit my specific needs. And you taught me that through your writings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Every time he reads something, it inspires him. He's always like, honey, come over here. You gotta read this,
That's the history of magic spells, though. Magical energy is in the earth. That's just there. Like, all the human beings in the world could disappear and magical energy would still be radiating. But magic spells, every single one is a creation of a human being who had a need or a desire, and then somebody else took that spell and had maybe they had different circumstances. They couldn't use that herb. I always think, there's an old-fashioned, it's a hoodoo spell, it's a beef tongue spell, which, you can find it in the book. It is an English folk magic spell, and they use, because because it was people use what they have, and it was a meat eating culture. So there was a lot of organ meats, like they'll find hearts stuffed up chimneys, but that's because that's what they had. They weren't trying to be particularly scary. It's just that's what they had to use. But I have a version now for vegans.
Oh,
Right? Like if that doesn't suit your life anymore, but you still have that need, let's make it work. You know, the
mhm.
one thing with 5,000 Spells that was good for me was kind of like my PhD in spellcraft, because I was working on it every day, every day, every night. Spells have a kind of rhythm and a logic to them. And once you start doing it, it will make it easier to create your own.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
you kind of plug into that energy.
Yeah, I agree.
that is very true. Um, this next question. Um, I I remember um we was both working overnights and to stay awake. We always listen to the George Nori,
Oh
Coco.
yeah, yeah.
And I couldn't believe it when you came on. Not just once. Well, I heard you 2 or 3 times, but I think
I've
you've
done
been
a couple times.
back.
Yeah.
And I especially I was like, wow, is that Judika? Really? How, how did that come about? I mean, I love George. You know, he's
He was
great.
great. He was great. Um, I didn't arrange that. One of the publisher's publicists arranged
Mm,
it. You have to do an interview, and then they had me on, and it's West Coast time, so that last hour
yeah.
you have to
Oh
make
yeah.
yourself stay lucid, stay coherent. But yeah, he was great. He asked a lot of interesting questions. I mean, that wasn't scripted. He just asked whatever he was interested in, and I- it's always, you know, I try to be like Sybil Leek, that I don't want to apologize.
Hmm.
I don't want to apologize for witchcraft. I don't want to, so I try to come out and represent it well. And he did, he gave me that opportunity, so I'm very grateful for that.
That's really great because you're right. We should not apologize for the craft. I mean, it's been around longer than
I
longer
think
than dirt, I
anything
guess you can say.
anything older than Jer, right? I mean, I think it's the oldest. I think it's
Yeah, it is.
I think the magical life, the magical arts,
Mhm.
magical knowledge. I think that's the original human talent,
Yeah.
human skill. I mean, people think about their ancestors and they're thinking, oh, 100 years ago or 200 years ago
Mhm.
or 3,000 years ago. But, a human being carved the Venus of Willendorf 30,000 years ago.
You got
Yeah.
And
that
then we
right.
cave paintings.
Okay, I want to tell you a little story.
That's great.
Okay, so we went to Salem one time with some friends. Well, kind of like with our coven, half of our coven, I guess. And one of our priestess, who is my best friend, she bought me this just for a thank you for dragging her along to Salem and everything. So you know how everybody sleeps with a teddy bear or something?
Sure.
This is my teddy
Oh,
bear.
yeah.
If when something is bugging me, I hold it in my hands underneath my pillow and I pray. Like, okay, please have this. Help me with this. Find
It's
solutions.
like the original mother. I
So,
mean,
yeah, it's
I woke
yeah.
up a
I
few
love
times with the lump in my back and
it.
found it.
Okay, let's go to the next question then.
Okay, let's see here. I was watching on YouTube and they was talking about services that you offer. Could you explain a little bit about?
Yeah, I don't really advertise. I mean, I do. I am a card reader, so I mean, I am a card reader. I do card readings. That's my primary service. I will I don't do spell casting for other people.
Yeah.
I really believe that casting your own spells is the most powerful, because every spell, people cast spells because they want something, or they fear something. And nobody wants what you want or fears what you fear more than you do. So you have that power. But I will teach people how to cast a spell, or I'll consult with them. Like, if you have this problem, what is a good spell to cast? So I do some hand holding. I won't cast the spell for you. And spells they're very complicated. I mean, often the spells that are the most interesting, I mean, even from it's like that San Alejo spell that didn't work. I did it again years later, and it did work because I was in a better state of mind. But I mean, that's kind of boring to talk about. I had a situation, I cast a spell, it worked. The spells that don't work often make you think, why is it not working? And this is something I talk about in my books as well, because people are very quick to dismiss, oh, well, the spell didn't work, so magic isn't real, so I'm not doing this, or or it didn't work, so I'm not good at it, and I'm not going to do it, and I'm going to pay somebody a lot of money to and when there are a lot of honest people who cast spells. So this is not to cast aspersions on everybody, but you make yourself very vulnerable to people when you hire somebody to cast a spell for you, because you are exposing your deepest desires and your deepest fears. So,
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that, because I have always thought that way. And
yeah,
I know I would get ridiculed by other witches, like, oh, shouldn't say that, but
that's
you know,
true.
it's true. I mean,
It has to come from within, not
yeah,
without.
And,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's your process. Sometimes it's your process to get, if life was all smooth, we would never progress. I mean,
right.
if my husband hadn't left me and behaved very badly, I would probably not be speaking with you now. I would just be sitting in misery. If often you pray so hard not to lose a job, but you can't get the better, maybe it's time for you to go. It's just time for you to leave there. And there's something better for you,
Yep.
because so it's not a it's not a cake mix. You buy a box of mac and cheese, and it's got a picture of the mac and cheese, and you go home and you follow the instructions, and presumably you get what looks like the picture in the box. But magic spells are mysteries. Sometimes they work better than you think they will, and sometimes they work a little different. And it is you have to work with them. You're working with that magical energy, and it's a journey and a process and an evolution. And so often it's the spells that don't work that you think about, why did I do something wrong? Did I in my case, the fear was, I think, got in my way. Did I Maybe it's the wrong spell for me at this time. Maybe the universe knows something I don't know. I mean, this is a very dramatic example, but every time, like, they, arrest a serial killer, and the guy's always a pastor, and he's a Boy Scout leader, and they had a lovely house, and the neighbors are going, but he seems so nice. And that his poor wife, like, who is blindsided by this, she probably prayed to marry that guy. She thought she was the luckiest person on earth. Well, maybe sometimes the universe is coming in and telling you, look again, think again. Maybe there's something here you don't know. And so that's an important part of the spell process.
Oh,
Yeah.
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 I always tell people, just listen to the universe all the
I
time.
tell people,
Go ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, this is sort of what we're doing with the magic oracle, the magic spell oracle cards, is to develop your intuition, to cultivate your intuition, and to know. And I mean, if you have had terrible experiences, and you have been gaslit or you have been abused, often our intuition is not at its best. If you have a lot of fear, often your intuition is not at its best, but we can work on healing that and cultivating that.
Oh,
And
yes.
so that awareness of how good is your intuition right now, but not ignoring it. Like if you have that, that sick feeling that you shouldn't be doing something, well, maybe you should listen to yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
What I was going to say was, boy, that box of chocolates really got expired. When things like that happen. I believe this is the way I view magic is that everything that we see, everything that we touch, everything that we taste, everything that we
Yes.
smell
Right.
is
Right.
magic.
Yeah.
We're
Right.
like for us sitting here, would you thought back when you was a child, you're just as old as I am, if you would have thought that we'd be sitting here on wireless devices and talking to each other?
No.
Magic.
Yeah.
TV.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. That's magic.
Or you can, here we are, you can get on a Zoom or something and talk to someone on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's you talk to a phone. Magic, hey, call so and so. It happens. Hey, would you bring up this page on such and such college,
Right.
and it comes up for you and it tells you.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right. But we are all, we're all miracles.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think of every person who is alive, all their ancestors going back to the beginning of time stayed alive long enough to reproduce, and somebody with all the wars and the diseases and everything, human children can't survive on their own. 4-year-old can't survive on its own for long. So every one of us had someone who made sure that all our ancestors lived until they could reproduce, and we were here. I mean, it's mind-blowing.
It really is. It's magic, Nature.
Magic.
It's like I tell everybody when they start magic, they ask me this question, well, what should I do? Listen to nature, because nature is what nourishes, it clothes, it gives us, a place to go bathe, keep ourselves clean.
Breathe.
Yeah. Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Now I got one last question I would love to ask you. Well, maybe two. I might have another one after this, but
hey, when I got an hour.
If you could have a deceased legendary author,
oh God,
to dinner, who would you have?
That used to be like a Facebook quiz thing where you could get 10 people. That's a hard question. It varies. Sometimes Helena Blavatsky. I did a dumb supper once, and I brought Helena, and that was an experience. Marie Laveau, maybe. Marie Laveau is so interesting, and her mentor, Dr. John Montané in New Orleans. These are all people who are in my book. I try to bring them alive. They were such interesting people, and they had so much knowledge. There is a man called Pascal Beverly Randolph, who is one of Helena Blavatsky's teachers. He's really, I think, one of the primary unsung heroes of the magical arts. He was a publisher and an author, and a world traveler, and I'd love to speak with him. I'd love to have them all sitting at the table. I would just shut my mouth and listen to them speak.
Yeah, we get asked that question sometimes too, and it's like you said, it's very
and who
hard.
do you say usually?
I always said Super League. I'm just.
Oh yeah, I love Sybil League. Yeah,
I mean, I think she was one of the first books I ever read,
yeah.
and
I think a lot of us of
yeah,
our generation.
it just kind of like inspired me to. This is what I want to do, and kind of awakened everything that was inside of me before, because I had a lot of visions and ever since I was a kid and never know how to deal with it.
Yeah,
And just reading her book and stuff just made me research more and everything.
yeah.
So, yeah, but there's a lot of others too. I can stay here all night just telling
Oh
which
yeah, yeah.
to have. But unfortunately, we will have to go.
That was fun. Thank
One,
you.
one
One
more
more question.
one more question.
Okay.
In my eyes, you are a superstar. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Now, for me, that means that in my eyes, you're a legend.
Yes,
Your
you are.
writings has inspired.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
If you could tell in a way, what would you leave behind after you pass? What would you like to leave behind?
Well, I mean, my books. That's I wrote my books. I wrote my books for other people. I wrote as a practitioner for other practitioners. I was trying to publish something else when I was first writing. I have a big book on fertility that, I mean, for a lot of reasons has never been published. But my editor, the one who eventually conceived of 5,000 spells, there is a chapter of magic spells in that book. And he liked it. He said, "Can you turn that into a book?" And I was very taken aback by that because there's so many books on magic spells. But I mean, once you know how to do it and you read these books, you can tell that some people, they haven't actually cast those spells. It's like a cookbook that somebody writes, but when you start doing it, you realize, you're cooking something from a recipe and it doesn't work. Most of us think, "Oh, damn, I couldn't do it." But in fact, there's a flaw in the recipe. It can't be reproduced. And I decided it was a bad time in my life. I wanted to get published, and I decided I wanted to write something honest. I wanted to write an honest, real book from a practitioner, an urban practitioner, to other people who maybe want to know how.
Mm-hmm.
And all my books, I didn't want to write. I had to be talked into writing half of them. Encyclopedia of Witchcraft. I mean, all these other encyclopedias of witchcraft, they're all about the witch trials. And they're never about the witches. They're all about how, well, they really weren't witches. Which, like, we're supposed to feel bad because these people were killed and they weren't even witches. Like that makes it better. Or, why were the people so crazy about the witches? They're not interested in the witchcraft, which, whether those people were witches or not, witchcraft exists. They were trying to root out something, even if they didn't do it right. So I wanted to write from inside and to be honest and authentic. And if I can leave that behind, because magic is eternal. We've been whatever happens. Well, I mean, even if we move to Mars, they're still going to need magic.
Yeah.
So I'd like to leave that behind for people to use. These books are meant to be used. Even like, it's like the little book I have here, which is a compendium. There's not a lot to use with it, but it is there to enlighten and bring joy and to celebrate witches in a world that often makes us feel bad for being witches or being witchy or being interested in witchcraft. So many people are discouraged. So I wanted to do the opposite.
I think it's beautiful.
It
Thank
is.
you.
Thank you so
for having
much.
that courage.
Thank you.
Yes. Just stay on for here in just about a minute. We'll be off. I just want to tell everybody blessings. Thank you for joining us with Judika. I, I encourage you to go out in June and buy that deck or pre-order it too.
Make my publisher happy.
Yeah, I think you can. Her website is down below in the banner. I think you can go there and order it. Can't you?
No. The website is a little damaged, but I mean, it's working. You just have to go past the wonky part and you'll get down.
I saw that.
You can, yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's going to get fixed soon. It's been a chaotic year.
So Amazon or your Facebook page?
You can find me Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. I'm on Twitter, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, wherever fine books are sold. If you buy from those witch stores because they need our love and our support, it is hard to own an independent witchcraft store. So
in there.
Yeah. So I mean, wherever you want, I mean, it's available. It's not hard to find.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you for having me. Thank you.
I'll treasure this day,
Oh, you're making me cry in a happy way, but thank you.
Well, everybody, thank you for joining us tonight. Watch us next week. We have a new show called Lesson Told. And also we're going to have Jason Myers come on from Inker's Witch. We're going to talk to him on Thursday. So stay tuned. Have a great night. Blessings. And blessed be. Walk in love and light forever in your heart and soul.
Very part.
Goodbye.
Great Goddess, I am so thankful to have you guiding me, protecting me. I am so thankful to have you guiding me, protecting me. I am Great Goddess, I am so thankful to